Greg Curtis. How's your day?
It's good. Good. Having a nice one. The sun's popping out over here.
Yeah, it's starting to look good outside.
It was hailing a little bit ago.
Now, once you see it on your homepage, it was hailing. What city are you in?
I'm in Anaheim Hills, and it was
There's
hailing
hail?
about 2 hours ago.
Wow.
It says we're now streaming live.
I know, I see that. I just can't find it on Facebook to share it. All right, well, if you see it, share it. If you're watching, share it. But I'm here with Greg Curtis. We're doing a good news interview where we just talk about all that God is doing in this time. There's enough bad news on television, so you can go see all that. Or you can come here and let's tell you what God is doing, which is some cool stuff. How's your fam? How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. I'm an extrovert, and so I expected this to be really hellish on me.
Me too.
I have been slightly energized by the challenges of converting life and ministry online.
Yeah.
I talked about it, and I am also, all that stuff we've been hearing about from Dallas Willard and everybody else about ruthlessly eliminating hurry from our lives.
I've heard of it.
It was yeah, you've heard of it. It was forced on us through this, and it's not that we don't have a lot to do. I mean, I feel like I've got maybe 50% more to do in recreating everything online, but I don't have any rushing. I'm not in a hurry because I'm not leaving to go anywhere, and I'm not being interrupted by anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been really nice, actually. I won't say I'm exhilarated by it by any means, but
Right.
I am energized by it, and I am more relaxed than ever, I think, due to it.
Yeah, and obviously we recognize the problem and the major stuff around the world and all the death and stuff, but you can know all the bad and also recognize what God can do in the good as well. I feel the same way. I have been I would call it, I guess how you said it, sort of, what did you say? Regenerate. What did you say?
Energized?
Yeah, energized by the idea of there's so much we can do online. There's so many more people we can connect with. It's kind of neat. It's kind of cool. And I am actually finding myself working more, but I don't feel hurried, like you're saying, from location to location to location, which does wear a person out. Here, I just had like a 30-minute break where I just hung out with my daughter just now and then jumped back on to another meeting like this. So it's kind of neat. It's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool. And you brought up a good point, is that it's not that I'm not feeling, the impact and praying for first responders and trying to encourage them both online and in other ways. We've had a couple extended family diagnosed with COVID, and it is what it is. But as far as just the daily life piece, I'm finding it kind of cool to be with my family for extended period and not being interrupted.
Right.
I have a very open office, and it's just it's been cool. There's a serenity to it for sure.
Yeah. What's been like the funniest moment with your family or at home, or just the coolest moment you've had so far on quarantine?
Oh, the coolest. It's hard for me to think of the funniest yet, though we have had some funny moments, so maybe it'll come to me. But one of the coolest moments was last night, and this may not have happened before, but I had said yes to a Facebook friend, a request for friending. And I have to be picky with that because you're limited on how many friends you can have, and I'm approaching that limit. And I use it for a lot of ministry, so I readily accept people I know and people in ministry that are colleagues. But past that, I have to be choosy. Well, there's somebody I didn't know at all, and for some reason, I felt led to say yes, and I just did. And literally, I got a hey there right afterwards on a private message, and I've had some really kind of weird things happen after hey there. People have to block later, that you're just like, really, people are,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So anyway, we started talking, and he asked what I did, and I said I was a pastor, asked for how long. We ended up exchanging pictures. He's a single dad and raised his kid alone, lives in a farm in Georgia. And as we proceeded, he shared some things with me, and including that he's a first responder and that he is, struggling with this. And in the course of doing that, I was able to really do some ministry with him, and he encouraged me, I would say, and I encouraged him. And there's some things that are pretty powerful that are happening because of that, and some of the new circumstances in his life as a result of being a first responder. So that would not have happened before this. That is new.
Yeah.
That is a new thing. Wouldn't put it in the fun category, but getting to meet people and encouraging them, especially first responders, along the way.
Yeah.
And having and one on the other side of the country that I would never have known. This is just a new world, and the new world is affording some new things, some new connections, and a new way of even building community. So I don't know. It's kind of a fun ride.
And this is kind of your world. So if someone's watching this and they don't know you, Greg Curtis is the assimilation pastor at Eastside, which is this small little church down the street of 7,000 or 11,000. I don't know, you guys, you're constantly growing. But assimilation, it's one of the things that I love that you are really jumping all in with. What is discipleship? What is connection? How we take people from visitor to connector to someone on fire for God. So the world that you live in has changed quite a bit. Let's talk about that specifically. When you are experiencing, my guess, if you're anything like most churches of your size, you've jumped in attendance, probably 20,000 plus, because people are jumping online to watch. So how are you moving those watchers to actually feeling like they are part of your church? How do you assimilate now in this world?
Big topic. First off, when you say about swelling in attendance, I think all of us who are doing church online need to be super honest about our attendance and calculate attendance correctly.
Yeah.
If like for us, we're doing, we're like most people, we're using our website, through our website, maybe connecting to Life Church's platform because it's free. A lot of people are using that and has the chat features and everything. And when you're doing that through your website, you can count, because people do that in groups, that we have learned that the average attendance, how that averages out is multiply how many devices logged in, because that's the only stat you get,
Right.
by 1.7. That's what Andy Stanley is doing. That's what a bunch of other people are. And that is your attendance. Now, you can count as one YouTube and Instagram, but Facebook, we have found, even though on our website, the average stay is 22 minutes, on Facebook, it's 2 minutes is what we're finding on our thing. So even though Facebook sometimes is our largest amount of devices, we're not counting any of them. It's 0.
Yeah.
So that's how you need to calculate attendance, because if you count, somebody who tapped in for 30 seconds,
Yeah.
and had a hard time logging on or decided they weren't going to do it. There's a lot, for some reason, whatever it is, our Facebook attendance is a lot like that. So we're, you can count the ones through your website as 1.7, and then maybe as single ones, the Instagram and YouTube. But, not everything that glitters is gold, and not every device that logs in is really attending. So,
well, when I was a pastor, if somebody walked by on the street, I counted them as a member of our church.
I remember when I was pastoring a church, and we were in this growth curve in it, and our goal was to have 600 on the weekend, and we hit 597. And I remember at the elders meeting, I said, guys, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit came. Can we just like 600 for the love,
If a car sees my sign out front, I mean, come on, let's be honest.
Yeah, come on. Somebody was thinking about their grandma. Can we count her?
Right.
Anyway, now how do you assimilate them?
Yeah.
As you know, I talk about 4 Ps in developing a effective assimilation process, which is one place where you get their contact info. That leads into one program or environment that you create that is guest friendly and helps them with what's on their heart.
Yeah.
And build a connection there. Then the third P is really 2 processes that land them in 2 placements. That's the final P, which is a small group and a ministry team serving, volunteering. So you've got one place, one program, two processes, two placements. Well, on online, it's the same. You just have to create an online or virtual place for guests that you have to invite. Say, hey, if you're new logging with us today, we would love to give you blah, blah, blah. We usually have to incentivize it with a gift, and all the more right now during the quarantine where everything is online. People's contact info costs something. You have to pay for it now. None of us are willing to share our phone numbers or emails with just anybody who we're watching online or any opportunity we get, because we know what happens. Our inbox gets full, especially now.
Right.
People are getting tons of stuff from their kids' school, from their every ministry that they've ever volunteered for at their church. If they're a church person, they're hearing from every COVID thing, every financial thing that they're trying to organize. It's just a stacked inbox.
Yeah.
So you have to offer something for it.
So what? Okay, let's stop there. What are you offering that's actually causing good results?
Well, again, I'm going to be real humble here because we're just like everybody else. We're trying to figure this out, and we're learning new things week by week and trying new things week by week. So the first week we gave a $5 Amazon gift card. The beauty of that is it's a value, I think, an increasing value right now, because people are buying things online, having them delivered even during the quarantine.
Yeah.
So we did that the first week. And what's great on the church's end of this is the simplicity of that, because you could take every email you got through that and just plug it into this one little slot on Amazon, and they let you create your own artwork for the image on it. So literally it sends an email and you write the copy of what you want it to say. And I did just a short piece of copy for them, inviting them to, you want it to the next thing that, to keep them engaged. It's an engagement tool. So it was perfectly designed with Eastside, our logo, had the little thing. And all it was one click after you copied all those emails for our admin to just send that. So our stats from week one was we had 29 new
29 people wanted a $5 gift card, because that's shockingly low.
We were really clear on that this was for people who had never been to Eastside before.
Okay, more importantly, out of the 29, who went to step 2, whatever you were calling them back to from that? Because of the new world, we did not have a way of tracking that yet.
Okay. Right? So I'll kind of track you through the learning curve.
Okay.
We had 29. I was bummed by 29. On a weekend, we usually get I'll throw out between 75 and 90 campus wide. So it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great.
Yeah.
That would be a disaster for a physical gathering.
Yeah, that's surprising.
But so we got the 29, and then we started asking ourselves, that seemed expensive, $5 per guest, 29, and we're not really able to track yet what if it's them that goes into our next deal. So ever since then, we have joined others around the country in offering digital gifts that are free. And so what we decided to offer was a subscription to a daily video from Gene, and Gene is who they just heard preach and usually had a good experience with. So it's a 4-minute encouraging video of hope to start every day with that he's doing by email.
Okay.
So when we offered that, it went up to 40. Then it was 25, and last week it was 30. So that's we're tracking. That's where we're at. We're somewhere, between 25 and 40. So in the mid 30s average.
That's still low for you guys.
Oh yeah, it'd be low for a physical gathering for sure. But here's what I found out is that some of my friends, and these are guys that I follow, I look up to, they're authors on Assimilation that I'm reading, and I'm tracking them with their churches. One of the guys, his stats were week 1, 0, week 2, 0, and week 3, 3. So I talked to somebody who had 0. That was a church I was working with up north, and then they tried doing this, and they're a church maybe 3,000, 3,500, and they went up to 9 trying it. I am finding that this is a tough one right now.
Yeah, let me ask you a quick question on that. Do you guys do a come to Jesus moment, raise your hand, or in this case, commit in the comment area or something like that?
We did last week, and we're going to do it again this Easter.
Okay, what was the number on that? I just want to see if people are able to more willing to do that than give their contact info.
Well, this will tell you when I tell you this. What Gene said was just say in the chat, I forget what it was, but something like, yes, I did, or yes. So I probably saw per service about 8 to 10 people say, yes, I did. And we told them to click here to get some stuff to get their journey, to jumpstart their journey. We would capture that. As far as I know, one person did.
Okay. Yeah.
You see what's happening there?
I do. And
is that they're willing to attend, they're even willing to respond, but they're not ready to give up their anonymity yet.
Yep.
And this is more so, I guess what I'm learning from that is that's more so online than it is in physical gatherings.
Yeah.
So I'm sharing some of the mistakes we've made as well. We've gone now to the digital thing because it's cheaper and we're seeing more results from it, though we want to see better results. But one of the things we did when we went online, and this is in my opinion, one of the things that we did that we didn't consider as much as we should, is we kind of defaulted to the old church strategy, which is instead of a pathway, it's a pit stop, meaning it's just a one-off. So join a small group. Like we started online small groups with our teaching pastor, Mike Bro. He's incredible. And he was going to do a study on Philippians. So be a part of this and sign up for that. And we didn't say if you're new, we said if anybody wants to subscribe to get these because we want our congregation to as well, these daily videos, you could. And then we were able, out of the 105 that did, 40 of them were new. We could, when we entered them in, we could see who was a guest and who ended up creating a new profile, right? So what happened was we just started creating things to sign up for, but they were cul-de-sacs, not corridors to the next thing. And that's not the way that I think an effective assimilation program is built, but we were just trying to get online and trying to establish some things. And we had over 400 people sign up for these online groups with our teaching pastor. I found out afterwards that 12% of them we had no profile for. So in essence, they were guests. But I would tell you this. They are not seeking guests or non-churched guests. They were just new to Eastside. And the reason is this: if you're an unchurched or de-churched person, you haven't been involved in church at all, but you're seeking God because of all this stuff that's going on, and you logged onto our website, I don't believe you're going to say yes to a small group, an online study with Mike Bro for 3 reasons. 1, you don't know who Mike Bro is.
Right.
You have no clue who Mike Bro is. B, you don't care about Philippians.
Right.
B, you had to sign up for it. And if you signing up gives up your anonymity to be put into a group of people you don't know online. And all of that, I think, spells death to the kind of people that all of us feel called to reach. If we would have, okay, that plane left the station and those groups are going super successfully and engaging a lot of even Eastsiders that weren't engaged. So it's all good. But if I would have thought for assimilation purposes that we would leverage that, we should have had Mike Bro in the service so they saw him, have him say something and go, okay, I like that guy. All they have to do is see him enough to like him, trust him. And the second thing I would have said, his study is, this is going to be a study and discussion on life or managing relationships and resources while under quarantine with Mike Bro, because that's what Philippians is. Paul is in quarantine in a house church. Chapter 1, he's dealing with the people that are close to him who might be sharing Christ for the wrong reasons. He's talking about Timothy and how much he trusts him. Chapter 2, he's talking about Epaphroditus, who is in quarantine with him sick, and he doesn't know what to do with him. Chapter 3 is about the toxic people in the Jewish community who were trying to preach legalism. Chapter 4 is about I've learned the secret of plenty and of being in plenty and being in want financially, but I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and I know he'll meet all your needs according to his riches in Christ Jesus. So literally, you could have taken what they did and made the topic about that, not make them sign up, just come watch it, and at the end say, hey, we'd like to invite you all into a 30-minute max, 15 to 30-minute discussion, and break it up through Zoom automatically into discussions to land the plane on something that will actually, an action point that will benefit you and your family during the quarantine. I think that would have become, if we chose to use that way and we didn't, a one program example online, because
Right.
it would have been designed with their safety zone, their interests, their needs in mind.
Yeah, because what you're doing is you are discovering that your discipleship, that the discipleship changes are working, but assimilation has to adjust into what you're saying right there. Someone on Instagram said, I don't feel with millennials giving up information in person either. I don't feel like millennials will give up in-person information either. They're
Mhm.
saying only information comes after relationship,
Yes.
which brings us to, so in our online world, let's say we're quarantined 2 more months. How are we going to do relationship? Because I think numbers are going up on watching and committing to Christ.
Mhm, mhm.
But like you've just said, giving information online, I don't know if we're going to be as nearly as successful as in person, because we have to build relationship first. How do we build relationship? What do you think?
That is so huge. First off, I think that's why engagement trumps content in this new world. Um, you know, great content is plentiful out there. Every mega church with every incredible preacher and worship team is doing a great service this Sunday, and any of us could join. All of us
Yeah.
could go to the same one if we wanted to.
Yep.
Uh, uh, so great content is on the internet. Connection is not. Great
Right.
content is, great connections are not. And so what we got to do is realize that engagement will trump content. And so you're right. All of a sudden, the relationship building thing is gonna have to move in the sequence a bit, and there'll have to be multiple areas. So one thing that I proposed in our church that we've looked at, and we might wait a little bit before initiating it. But I also know a church, Canyon Ridge in Vegas, that tried this out to some success last weekend. And that is ending your service with an invite into a 15-minute, I think you should let them know how long it's going to be, discussion on X, Y, and Z. And to me, these are the three questions guests are asking during the quarantine. How do I manage finances during this? Second is, how do I parent during this? And the third is, if those two especially are taken care of, they're asking, how can I help somebody else during this? Those are the three biggies. And that you could literally have a expert in your church lead that discussion for those who want that. You could break it up into three separate, whatever. And like, for instance, one thought is, if you have somebody who's kind of your financial guru in church, you could have them for the one on finances during the quarantine. He could share a couple thoughts and then show the quick video on Financial Peace University, which now has an online version that he's planning on doing.
Mhm.
Show that video, answer Q&A questions, then invite them to sign up using this link. We'll see you guys later. And then we've always had a back-end way of launching small groups out of things like FPU. So again, there's a pathway building.
Yeah.
And we do the same for local compassion, and do the same for parenting things. It could be a way for your next gen staff person to lead a quick discussion for parents that are, and one of the things they could do is enhance their student ministry online small groups through that, and then ask to sign up. But I think they're going to need to address things for parents. I think the topics that are going to be hot are things like extrovert and introvert family members and privacy. How do we deal with different privacy issues during the quarantine?
That's ridiculous.
Technology.
Yeah.
What are the new technology boundaries,
Right.
that we're going to have, and what are healthy ones not? And just talk through that, and then offer resources for engaging their students. So I just think that if you bust up into conversations and realize multiple conversations need to add up to a relationship that adds up to trust, that says, okay, now I will share my information with you.
I love it. In fact, this by the way, so I do a good news interview where I just want to see how Greg's doing, and we end up talking ministry like none other. This is why Greg and I have become really good friends and hang out about once a month. This is over online. I'm going to post the 3 questions you said and just see how what you're thinking with that. And don't miss if you are watching this, the idea, and I watched the church do this weekend, same results, where hanging out after, they literally said, actually the service is over, but here we are. Anybody want to, like, talk, we're going to talk. And then it went on probably another hour. It was only supposed to be probably 15 minutes, but it goes an hour because by the end of it, I was looking at their stats. There were 798 comments, just people boom, 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 like talking, and they're talking back because that's the technology we have. It's people who probably in a church service would not have done that, and they wouldn't have come out of their comfort zone. And that's taking the technology and actually building relationship in a way that you couldn't even do in your normal service. It's like really going to the next level with it. But that, I love that, because that's how we have to think. How can we use this new medium to reach the people we're trying to reach? All right,
So
I'm gonna go back to you. Go ahead. I want to hear
Well,
what
I
you
was just
have to
going
say.
to say in that sequence, about doing
Yeah.
a simulation online, so you have your ask and your one place to get their information. But I think you may have to, ahead of the one places, create some pre-places that create discussion and relationships that allow them to finally do that.
Yeah.
And then you're going to engage them and bring them into your one program. Like I mentioned an example of what that could be, say, with a Bible study like Mike Bros, our teaching pastors. But we're forming now a digital Next Steps, which was our original program, and that's going to launch in May. And so we're going to do that. And for people who are making decisions for Christ, we're going to try this weekend we're going to use text. And we're just going to see if we didn't use text before. We use the chat room, and see if that does any better for us. And then we're going to try that. And it may not, but we're just going to try things and then learn every week. And the text thing will allow us to text information about Next Steps as it gets closer. And in the meantime,
Because you have a phone number. Is that kind of the thing you'll meet?
well, in that case, we switch from email to phone number. So I think that there's a good chance that we won't see those results, but at least we'll know because we tried. So we're eliminating, and I think everybody should be using these early days of the quarantine, the early weeks, in rather than assuming what works or doesn't work for your context, is just try something. Go down trying your best thinking, and then you have a real life stat to say, here's why we say yes or no to that now. And I think that there's a confidence to that and a learning curve that's healthy as a leader. So anyway, we'll have the new Next Steps, digital Next Steps in place. Now, here's the beauty of being online. Okay. The process, when I say you have two processes, which is a small group placement process and a ministry team placement process, volunteer placement, that becomes so truncated and simple online. I mean, in a sense, especially for small group placement, it's just going to become so much easier than it ever was. The volunteer piece, a lot of that may have to be in pause, but you can have people engaging with things in hopes for when we get back together and having a whole new orientation pool of new people. Or what we're going to focus on is the local compassion things. And we've created a very robust compassion thing that if any of your listeners want to check out, the page is eastside.com/local. Okay. Eastside.com/local. If you go there, you can do it as a small group or as a family, something right now that helps a neighbor. And we can be emphasizing that during these times. But it still becomes, the process becomes more simple. It's links, it just is. And then the placement then becomes a lot more simpler too, because it's the placement is your family serving together, or you're in a small group now online, or you're engaging, getting to know some leaders about a future ministry you might have once this is all over. So anyway, that's what it looks like online.
No, it totally makes sense, because I didn't have time to lead many small groups. Now I'm leading two, because it's just so much easier. People are popping in them so fast where I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll lead that. It's an hour on this time where we all hop online. And so small group, those kind of things, those are easier. But then serving, well, we don't have the same need in serving. So that next step of, all right, getting someone involved in ministry in some way has to shift. And that's where you're right. It's probably more locally, which is probably what we should be doing a little bit more of anyway, with reaching our neighbors. By the way, someone that just popped in and asked a question, children's ministry. They're like, our family's there watching service, but we've been trying to find a church that's doing stuff for kids online at the same time or right after. What have you guys done in that area?
What we're doing is we have some ways that we instruct the families to do something with their kids during the time. Like here's what to do with smaller children. We feel like our service is designed that easily junior high and high school can participate in that as is, but
Right.
the lower ages, we have something that we give them that kind of allows them to do something with the family, but separate at the same time. But like on our Good Friday service, we're doing something that involves a lot of footage from the Passion of the Christ, which we think is maybe not so friendly to small
Yeah,
children.
yeah, it's tough.
So we actually have a separate one, an actual separate Good Friday service that's 7 minutes in.
Okay.
But we let the parents know ahead of time so that they can be ready for that moment. And
Speaking of little kids,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah,
Oh, that's funny. This is the beauty of working from home. She just
yeah,
brought me in a milkshake. Uh, did you see that? You know what I'm talking about right now? My daughter just walked in.
yeah.
Okay. Anyway, okay, I love that. So when you do your live stream, you say on the live stream 7 minutes in, switch to this live stream for your kids, like on the computer or something.
Yes. Yeah. So we say it a few times or put something up that'll say to do it so that those people are ready. Like maybe they've logged in on a laptop for their kid and put it in another room and or
Smart.
actually put an older sibling maybe with them to
That's
do
really
it.
smart.
So that's where we're at so far. I'm not saying that that's the thing everybody should do. It's just like we're figuring it out as we go too.
No, I have heard that one quite a bit. Like, okay, we're finding we're good with this. In fact, we actually like it better because we get to be home and relax a little bit watching the video. But for our
Now,
kids,
I'll say another thing real quick on that we have been plugging for a week or so, both in our services online and other means that we've given instructions to parents and to families of how to do communion together. Here's what you need, here, get it ready, so that during the Good Friday service, they could take communion together. So I'm pretty confident that at the end of that experience, the kids come back in and the family is having communion together.
man, that's so good. That's smart. All right. Well, this went really a different direction. So let me end with this. What's God been doing with you? What's been your coolest God moment within all of this?
I've been observing Lent during this season. And that's just something I've been doing for maybe 15 years or more. And so I gave up some things that is definitely the quarantine kind of affected, and I had to switch some of the things that I was giving up. But I have been in that mode. And I've been using a resource called Pray As You Go. And it's the Jesuits that do it from Great Britain. And it's built on the lectionary, but each one of them starts with bells from a church somewhere in the world. Then you hear a song from usually that place in the world, but you'll hear things that are anything from chant to Hillsong in that slot that always ties in with the scripture of the day. Then they introduce and read you the scripture. And of course, because they have those accents, it sounds more holy than when we read it.
Right.
And then then they give, after they read it, they have just some music playing and they guide you through some things to think about. Like, what do you think the expression on Jesus's face was when he said that? Now, if you were so-and-so in the story, how would you feel? Now, if you were this person though, how would you feel? And they just keep asking you. Then they go, now we're going to read the scripture a second time, but look for this. And then after that, they guide you in prayer prompts. Now, why don't you tell God this? Or why don't you talk to God about this? Or why don't you, and then you're praying. And then at the end, they say that blessing from the common prayer about, world without end, amen kind of thing. And when it's done, they're about 15 minutes long each. And I've been going on walks every day doing that. And I'm telling you, God has been moving me to tears during this time about, gosh, just different issues in, both my personal life and even just my tendency as a man and a 3 on the Enneagram to be so bent on production and achievement and checking boxes, right, and just embracing this time, this quarantine as a gift from God and not as a horrible disruption.
That's amazing. What was that called? Actually, I need to slow down a little bit and do
Oh,
some.
it's awesome. If you have any bent towards contemplation, this is your resource. It's called Pray As You Go.
Pray As
It's
You
a
Go.
website and an app, and it's incredible.
Is that like .com or something?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I was just on it. It is Pray As You Go. PrayAsYouGo.org.
.org.
Mm-hmm.
I need that. That was a good word, man. I appreciate your friendship. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for making us all get a little smarter in just about 30 minutes.
No, I appreciate it. It's always fun. Thanks.
Good stuff. And if you're watching this, thanks for being here. We appreciate you. Go be Jesus.